Cats, cops, and C4. Well, fuck, Cenk mutters as he double-checks the section on jurisdictions and the response for attacking individual governments. Centris as a planet was odd. It's a massive diplomatic center point, and each spire has its own laws. However, since they're all so close together, jurisdiction jumping is an issue. What's legal on one spire can be illegal on the next, and therefore clever or just lucky criminals have been making all sorts of mad dashes all over the place. Anything less dangerous than assault is generally not chased from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. If you're grabbed by the officers of the jurisdiction you offended in, even on the other side of the planet, then they got to keep you. There was communication encouraged between the many different precincts and political forces. But in practice, often many police precincts on the same spire and following the same laws struggled to communicate, which meant that it was like almost everything else on Centris, far too little trying to do far too much. He had heard someplace that if every person on Centris was a politician wholly dedicated to their job of trying to organize the known galaxy, the population would be far too small. The galaxy is so obscenely huge that trying to organize its main political interests into one area for debate and discourse was an exercise in futility. Literally, everything on the planet wasn't enough. The population was much too large, much too dense, and far from properly provided for. The lowest 10 levels of every spire on the planet were an almost universal slum that were one really good engineer away from some lunatic trying to kill billions by knocking down a spire. He was looking for a reason to drag Argus straight back to the precinct. But due to the unimaginable fucker taunting him in the hospital, it counted as a full-on attack. He was off police duty at the time, meaning that all authority over him had defaulted back to the Undaunted, and as it was a psychological attack on one of their citizens, it opened the stupid bastard up for reprisal. Yes, it was an effective taunt, but it had allowed a much less restrained and far less gentle organization to hunt him down like a dog. The moment he called for evacuation from the hospital was the very moment that Argus had sealed his fate and the moment that the Undaunted were let off the chain. Hopefully, while being drafted by them, the idiot will learn when to not taunt your foes. Annoying, Cenk remarks as he pockets the information. He then schedules an appointment that's going to be pretty high up there on the no fun scale of things, but it has to be done. He drives in the slower lanes to the station. Mental rehearsals or not, he does not like this shit, and no amount of preparation will make him feel comfortable with it. Some part of him says it's a good sign, that an inner division is self-monitoring and keeps things from going too far. But it doesn't feel good. He wishes he could trust the intelligence more, but the very nature of their work and what they had to do meant they were at the very best ready to do horrific things at any moment, and at worst in the process of doing so. When your job can be summarized as invasion of privacy, sabotage, blackmail, and murder, there's a lot of problems, to say nothing of kidnapping and torture. Pack in too many people too close together and someone will start doing terrible things to get ahead. Do it 1 trillion times over and you've got enough criminals to form a demographic. There's just no way to deal with such a huge mess without getting dirt on you. He doesn't know why the intelligence division is so eager to engage with the criminal underbelly of Centris, but they're doing it. Okay, scratch that. He does sort of know why, he just doesn't agree with it. Yes, recruitment is needed, and yes, most criminals start out due to circumstances beyond their control. Accident, misunderstanding, desperation. Those are the most common causes of a criminal career. But a deliberate bad actor like Argus, I mean really, if the bastard wanted to be Moriarty, he should at least have started out as a professor in something. He's known as Professor Moriarty for a reason and not just because it sounds good, Cenk says as he runs a hand through his hair and then leaves the travel lanes and engages manual piloting. He guides his armored vehicle into a police station parking lot and locks it behind him. Bad news? The admin girl at the front asks, and he sighs. Mixed and not in a way I like. I'm heading to the chief, Cenk says as he walks in. It must be bad, you look pissed. Like I said, it's mixed. Problem resolved, just not in any way I like, Cenk remarks. And don't ask any more. I'm already getting up to the limit of my NDA. Gotcha, she says. Good luck. Chief has not been happy. What a coincidence. I'm not happy too, Cenk replies. And there's a slight snort from the woman. There. Finally out of the big old restricted section of the ship, Vera asks as she emerges from one of the bathrooms and spots him. His answer is somewhat delayed as she manages a pounce from a good 5 meters away. Momentum alone should have dropped him, but he's got the training to redirect that energy, and she swings around him once before latching onto his back and snuggling up. Yep, it took a bit, but I made it away from all the nasty spies and saboteurs unharmed. There's a lack of Carib blood on you. Het get away? Vera asks. No, but I'm not allowed to say much of anything. Cenk replies, and she lets out a little whine. But I want to know. But I want to keep my job. He whines back, and she cackles. Fine. Keep your secrets, Mr. Sexy Spy Man. I'm an officer of the law. That's pretty much the opposite of a spy, Cenk remarks as he rounds the last corner and starts on the straightaway to the chief's office. The doors open and she and Linda are chatting. Good. He can get this all over with in one sweep. That is not the look of a successful capture, Chief Bowman notes as he enters the room. You looked a little upset from a distance, but I couldn't tell if it was anger or indigestion. I hear that's nasty in humans. It is. There are downsides to having a sack of acid for a stomach, Cenk remarks, remembering the time when some snacks he bought at a roadside stall gave him sulfur burps for hours after. All right then, she says, pressing a button on her desk, and the office's door closes. The windows shutter and there's a slight buzzing to let Cenk know that the room is sealed from most conventional means of spying short of someone else actively being in the room with them. Due to NDAs, I can't say much, only that the intelligence department of the Undaunted caught Argus after his teleportation out. They have him alive and in custody with their apparent intent being rehabilitation. More than that, I'm either legally bound to claim ignorance or actually ignorant. I did digging and your people's government has informed me that Argus is legally within their jurisdiction to apprehend. I'm aware. I was discussing this with Officer Score, Chief Bowman says, and Cenk nods. Yes, I'm sorry he... Cenk begins, and Chief Bowman holds up a hand. Is he on the streets? She asks. Currently, no. Later? No idea. He answers. Is he in a position to keep causing damage? As far as I know, no. Has he been tortured or straight up executed? He's alive and he looked to be in good health. So in other words, he's off the street, under the control of a group of law-abiding citizens and no longer blackmailing, inciting riots or outright murdering people? Yes. Then case closed, Chief Bowman says, and Cenk's jaw drops as Linda just sighs in seeming relief. Oh, don't look so surprised. We're not an army. We have limited resources and heavy limits on our actions. If someone else wants to legally take care of a big problem for us and perhaps even turn it into something good, great. All the power to them. I'd send flowers if I could. If you want, I could make sure they're delivered, Cenk mutters. No. You look like you're ready to introduce a vase to a face, she says before smiling. Sit down, Cenk. It's time for you to learn possibly the most important trait for an officer. Deputy or not, you're still one of us and need this talk. What talk? I assure, and both Linda and Vera can attest to this. I've already had the one needed once puberty kicks in. Cenk replies, and Linda face palms as Vera giggles. Well, that's one concern taken care of, Chief Bowman says as Vera slinks off Cenk's back and he sits down on the chair she indicated. But no, this is more the disappointment talk. Specialist Cenk Barnabas, you're not in a movie. There is no camera crew and there is no script. We do the best we can, but more times than not, there is no happy resolution to the things we're involved in. But so long as Jenny and Johnny Civilian get to go about their day without fear, keep what is theirs, and in general can live without breaking any laws, we've done our job. But you, Linda and Vera, managed to chase a dangerous criminal right out of his lair and into the jurisdiction and waiting arms of another force. Another force that did not extrajudicially kill him. Another force that had legal grievances against him and the authority to arrest if needed. Another force that did arrest him and take control of him. Unless we see Argus out on the streets and causing all hell again, then as far as I'm concerned, the matter is closed. It would have been nice to begin and end the investigations and the case entirely within our own power, but there are so many jurisdictions, counterproductive laws, loopholes, and political maneuvering in the day-by-day that any amount of progress is a blessing. So no one's upset that the undaunted intelligence agency has him. No. And if he just suddenly shows up doing the same thing again, then the only thing I can assume is that he's slipped custody, and therefore we can go after him again. Until then, he's no longer a problem. Out of sight, out of mind may be an awful way to live life. But with our workload, it's a policy we need to follow. Otherwise, we'll go mad. Police work isn't some big, glorious victory march. It's a slow, dedicated, and difficult process where you need to get everything right. Even a basic misfiling of a standard form can be the difference between a criminal walking away laughing or openly weeping as the fine hits her bank account. Not very fair. Vera notes and Chief Bowman shrugs. No, it's not. We have to fight against criminals and give a legal excuse every single time we so much as finger our weapons. If we misspeak or stutter, then some smart lawyer might get them off. If we don't have a warrant at the exact right time for the exact right thing, then we have to outright ignore some evidence no matter how obvious it is. We are fighting with our feet encased in hypercrete and our arms shackled behind our backs and are still expected to win. And we nearly did, Cenk says with a sigh. Nearly nothing. We did. We found the lair of the beast, set a trap and chased it out. It may have avoided us, but in its haste to escape, it landed smack dab into another hunter's trap. End result? The beast is no longer spreading terror and death. Sure, we don't get the prize. But this wasn't about a prize. This was about stopping the beast, and the beast is stopped. We won. I understand that, but it really doesn't feel like a win. And it's not going to. The satisfaction of police work is most often grim rather than glorious. Still, we still need to fully sift through Argus's files and notes to completely dismantle his web of blackmail and manipulation. He may have said that he doesn't like touching the innocent, but he clearly has an odd definition of innocent, or a very stringent one. Still, he's someone else's problem now. Whether he becomes ours again isn't important now so much as finishing things up. There you go. I'm glad you understand, Chief Bowman says, and with the push of a button, her office unseals. The moment it does, one of the officers pokes her head in and looks around before suddenly looking disappointed. Well, nuts, that's a bet I just lost. A bet on what? Chief Bowman asks. Oh, nothing, she says with a bright smile and ducks out. Excuse me, it seems I need to have a discussion with Officer Ornith about workplace rumors again, Chief Bowman states as Cenk stands to leave. Are you all right? He asks Linda as they leave the office. Frustrated, disappointed, and angry. But I'll get over it. I'm a big girl, not some idiot. We may not always get our perp, but at least he didn't get away.